welcome everybody to this week's episode of the Coach Edge Show, and I am super excited about this conversation. Who we've got on the show today? Let's see, what are the words I could say? Passionate, insightful, open, freakishly talented. I'll add that word on there. That he's just a man that I've gotten to know over the last 6 months. That I'm just so honored to share this conversation with you. The Houston Texans organization and was there when we met. But this guy he's multifaceted. I may have mentioned that's what he does. He plays football on Sundays, but this guy is so much more than what he does. And we're going to talk a little bit about that. So I'm excited to share more about that. So we met right around September of 23, and he went through Season Builder, and he and I built a friendship that I will treasure forever. And so without further ado, please welcome Cobi Francis to the Coach Ed Show. Cobi, good to see you, my brother.
What's going on, man? I appreciate that introduction, man. I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, man, I'm excited to share this story, our conversation with people, with you, because again, I meant every word I said, and I can't wait for people to hear and to know more about Cobi, and so that's exciting. Why don't we start off a little bit? I mean, obviously you're a professional athlete, but let's go back earlier to your growing up days. Tell us a little bit, like where'd you grow up? Like what sports did you play? What was your mindset? Kind of your family. Just give us some foundation.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm from Georgia. I went to high school a little bit outside of Atlanta, but I was raised in a city called Columbus for like the small early years of my life, and then I moved to Atlanta. Then growing up, it was just me and my brother, and my mom and my dad for like some time, and then they split. But my dad he was still present in my life. It was just a part of life, and they divorced. But just going through that situation young, I just grew up early and just realized what things were in my life, and I took it for what it was. But my mentality just kind of went from being a kid to like, okay, understanding like my mom, my brother, like, okay, I want to take care of them one day. I want to make sure that I can give them whatever they want, so whatever it is, or just be able to provide for them. And then my whole goal was always to get back to my mom in some kind of way. You never really know what your mom or your parent, whatever it is, as they're single, but you never know what they're really going through until you get older and you can kind of see it for your own eyes. And as I got older, I just started putting things together and just realized like my mom sacrificed so much that I didn't know. And to this day, I really appreciate her for that. And then, she always kept me and my brother in sports. And I really appreciate her that, so my dad, he introduced me to basketball, but basketball really wasn't my main thing.
Okay.
I played it, but I was just kind of just out there fast, athletic. But I love baseball and football. Football was like my love, though. Baseball kind of just came very easy to me. Once I understood the game, I was just like, okay, I can really do this. But the adrenaline I got out of football it was second to none. Like once I hit the field, being able to tackle, score, whatever it was, make a big play, it was like, this is really what I can do. You just grow up, you always have the dreams and the aspirations to make it to the biggest level. But I always had in my mind, like I was always itching for the next level. So starting from Little League, I was ready to go to middle school ball, to play for a school, wear a school jersey. Yeah. And then you leave from middle school ball and you just see older guys playing on Friday night lights. And it's just like, I can't wait to go play high school ball for my high school and play Friday ball and have the whole city come and watching a big game.
Yeah.
And then, once you waking up on Friday and then go that Saturday morning, you watching college football. So over my year, the high school, I'm leaving from my Friday night game and I'm waking up early and I'm watching college game days, from 8, 9 a.m. all the way up until 10 o'clock at night. I'm just watching games after games, So like I said, I was always itching for that next level to just be on that next level. And that kind of just drove me. And then once you get into a competitive pool, I went to a very competitive high school. And it was predominantly like just, you stuck to your sport. Nobody really crossed sports. Football players are football players. Basketball players are basketball players. So like, when we're in that football locker room, in that weight room, like we're competing, we all want to compete with each other and get offers, but it was a good competitive, it was never anybody
healthy.
Yeah, it was never anybody looking down on one another. We always were encouraging each other and we wanted to see the best for each other, but like you had to be the best to get to where you wanted to get to. And there's so many friends and old teammates, they all went and played college ball no matter what level it was. When I graduated, my graduating class, we had the biggest signing class. I think we had like 18, 20 guys go play college ball.
Man, you made the
It's
dude high school. Bunch
yeah.
of dudes.
Yeah, so shout out to my coaches at that time, and
Yeah.
they just really pushed us to get to where we wanted to get to, and especially like one of my DB coaches, I'll never forget him, Coach Skelton. Like
Okay. Shout out Coach Skelton.
yeah, most definitely Coach Skelton, man. He definitely instilled like a lot of things in me. I just remember the first time I told him where I wanted to go to school, and I kind of was just so used to everybody talking down, like, man, you got to get to where you want to get to, and he looked at me and said, man, you can go play anywhere you want to, like you
Mm,
don't even know the God-given talent you have, honestly. He just put so much in me and instilled so much more confidence in me that something I already had, but just
yeah.
perfecting my craft and just talking to me outside the ball and making sure my mental was right. They helped me take my game to a different level. So that's just kind of
Yeah.
just where like this whole drive for me kind of came from. It started young, like I said.
Yeah.
I've been playing football and just sports since I was 5, 6 years old. So it's who I am, but it's not who I am at the end of the day, though.
Well, yeah, you certainly what the terminology you and I had talked about back. We talked a lot about identity. It is certainly something that's designed in you. We
For sure,
talked about it's just you just mentioned a phrase that we talked about. You'll remember this. Your coach said you had a lot of God given ability,
for sure,
right? And one of the things we talked about during our time together was you can't maximize your God given potential without a God aligned life.
definitely.
You definitely have that designed in you, that mindset, the skills, the talent for that. So yeah, I wouldn't say it's who you are, but it's part of your makeup for sure. That's awesome.
Definitely, definitely.
Okay, so all right, so that's a good little intro. And now you get recruiting, you end up signing. Tell us a little bit about your journey, where you went to college and kind of that first year, and then kind of talk about a little bit that second year, maybe some mental challenges started popping up.
Yeah, definitely. So our recruitment started kind of late, but well, when it happened, it took off how it was supposed to, and I appreciate
Yeah.
that. But I ended up signing and going to University of Memphis, and I was a part of Coach Novell's first recruiting class, and just coming in, just the mindset, like the guys I came in with, I just knew like I belonged there. It
Mm.
was it was like we knew each other for years, but it's like we kind of all just clicked well, and what I'm saying, it was very driven. What I'm saying, we had guys who were outspoken. Some like me, I kind of was like, I wouldn't say I was quiet, but I kind of just was just there. But I
Yeah.
always live by my action, so I just went to work however I need to do it. And
Right.
then saying, but you have your loud leaders, I would say. That's how I see it.
Yeah.
But
Right.
but they're,
Right.
but they're
Loud
but
leaders.
they're
Yep.
but they're but they're good leaders though. They're good leaders,
Right.
and
Yeah.
what I'm saying,
Absolutely.
and they
You
led in the
need
right
those,
way.
right?
Right,
Yeah.
correct. So I went to Memphis, and my first year there, 2017, I'm playing. And I played my freshman year, but it came kind of like later in the season when I started playing. And I
Okay.
just remember like that time period before I played. It was like right after a practice, Coach Novell just looked at me in a team huddle, like we were like the last like breakdown of the huddle after practice.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and told me, he was like, Kobe, you never know when your name is going to be called, but are you going to be ready? Literally a week later, we're playing UCLA against Josh Rosen, the
Yeah.
2017 UCLA team.
Yeah. Remember that.
And
Yep.
one of my teammates, he ended up making a big play, but he took himself out of the game. He ended up getting concussion right before
Okay.
halftime. So I just remember everybody looking at me like, Kobe, you up.
Yeah. You
And I just,
up, baby?
yeah,
You up?
and I just remember one of my coaches handing me the headset, and my DB coach was in the boxes. Then he called down. He's like, "Yo, when we in locker room, get your mind right. I'm gonna tell you the game plan. Just you know what I'm saying." But
Yeah. It was on,
but
baby.
right, but nobody knew that I prepared that whole week as if I was the starter, except one of my
Ah.
coaches, my assistant DB coach at the time. He knew that I was preparing because I would go and meet with him every day at the practice, like, and it was just something I look back on it now as I'm telling this story,
Yeah.
and it's crazy how like I just mentally, like, it was like I was already just, God was wanting me to just go ahead and be preparing because God knew that I was about to go on that game
Yeah.
Saturday, but I didn't know.
Wow.
All I did
Yeah.
was I took heed to what Coach Novell told me that the previous Sunday practice,
Yeah.
and I just went into the week like, yeah, you're the starter, like you have to prepare, you just never know. And I just remember that week I broke film down as if I was the coach. I had 3 pages of different notes. I knew every route that, like my mind just started just going. And then when I got in the game, it was just like I knew what was going on. And
Yeah.
I was blessed to make the game when I played. And it was just kind of just where my career took off at the Memphis. And then after that, I played the rest of the season and
Yep.
I
Yep.
built the confidence. But then that next year, it's like when it's like I wouldn't say it's like a downfall, but it was like mentally, like the previous coaches I had, they left. So now
Yeah.
I'm with a whole new defensive staff, and it's like I'm having to fill them out. They're having to fill me out,
Yeah.
They don't really know who I am. I don't know who they
Right.
are. And, you know,
Mhm.
you're just kind of prejudged off of small things, and you just
That's
never
right. We
know.
do. Right.
Yeah, and I never talked about it before with him. But you know, coaches they do their background, and I broke my ankle my last year in high school.
Okay.
I had a really bad ankle break,
Okay.
which required reconstruction surgery. So a
Okay.
lot of people always try to use that against me. You know, what I'm saying like,
Mm.
can he still play the same? Literally,
The
you know,
prejudging thing you just
yeah.
talked about, they use that to prejudge. Yeah.
Right. And so everybody would always look at me like, oh, he doesn't move like this. I'm like, it used to eat at me at sometimes. So
Yeah.
I would
I
be
know. We
like,
talked about it.
yeah, and I would be like, man, like I know what I can do. So at the end of the
Yeah,
day,
that's right.
so going to that 2018 season, I kind of just dealt with like a lot of like up and down, up and down. Middle of the season, that's when I like became the starter again. But in that time period, my confidence had kind of been like almost stripped because I
Yes.
was dealing with so many negative things internally and outside, just people talking to me like it kind of doesn't feel good when coaches don't really feel like they can trust you, but you know what you can do, but they kind of take the confidence with. So mentally, you're just not there. So
I can imagine there are about 10,000 guys listening to this podcast at some time that are nodding their head right now.
for
They know
sure,
exactly what you're
yeah,
saying. Yeah.
definitely. So
Wow.
you know, just dealing with that, and that was my biggest thing. But like, I had some great guys around me, like old heads around me. And I just
Yeah.
remember after one practice, one of them he just came up to me and he was like, "Whenever you're ready to talk, let's go talk."
Mm.
And you know, I was young. I was no more than, because I went to college at 17 years old.
Okay. Wow.
So at this time, I was no more than 18, almost going on 19. So in my mind, I'm still a little bit like, a little arrogant, but I'm a
I
little bit
know. I
like,
know. Hey, we all are, man. We all are.
I just came off a really good freshman year, or, you know
Right.
what I'm saying, a good freshman
Like,
for a freshman. And I'm coming in like, what are you talking about? Like,
right. Yo, man, I know what
yeah,
I'm doing.
yeah, I know that, but I didn't know that I was coming off kind of, you know, the attitude of people
Yes.
sometimes. I
Right.
didn't know. I
Right.
didn't realize it. I just knew that just me being myself, I was kind of in my own ways, and I didn't realize that.
Right.
And I
Right.
just remember him pulling me outside. We talked in his car for like an hour after practice,
Wow.
after meetings and everything. He just told me, "You're a hell of a player, dude, but you can't let these coaches strip that from you. Like you can't let them get in your head. You got to go be you. If you
Mm-hmm.
making plays, they can't say anything about it." And from that conversation, like I said, we sat in the car for like an hour just talking.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I left from him, and that next day had a really great practice. And this time we were in fall camp. So I'm just like, I'm in my head. I'm just like, man, you know, so I just took that and just kept going. I had a really downfall. Like that was like my downfall year, where like mentally I wasn't okay. I was always just dealing with like, am I even good anymore? It was just so much negative comments coming towards me. And then you find out that coaches want to kick you off the team because they feel like you have a bad attitude. I look back on it. I had one real coach who he took the time to realize what was really going on with me,
Yeah.
and he was the one that told me like, bro, like yeah, you know, like think about you want to kick you off the team. And I'm just like, for what? Like I don't cause any problems.
Right.
I keep my nose clean. Yeah, I may come off sometime as like a little bit like I have an attitude, but I've been told I wear my emotions on my sleeve when it comes to football. I'm very passionate about the game.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel every emotion that I have when it comes to football. And sometimes I'm not going to apologize about that. That's just the
Mm-hmm.
love I have for the game. But
Mm-hmm.
once I realized who I was and they really sit down and understood like Kobe just really loves it, then a lot of, you know, since switches started to turn around and things started to turn around in a positive way.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I really appreciate you sharing that about just those negative voices. A coach may do something and have no intention whatsoever by what he said or how he didn't say anything to you when he went through the hallway or he didn't mention
Right.
you in the practice film. And like, he may not even think anything about it, but man, you're sitting there going, what's up? What I
Right.
do? What, yeah.
Yeah.
And then the slippery slide of the negative thoughts. And man, those negative thoughts can be pretty destructive, can't they?
Definitely. Definitely.
Yeah. So then you came along and ended up playing a couple more years, kind of built mindset up, and then draft day kind of came and went. But then what happened after that?
So, you know, so I finished out my career at Memphis very well. I was captain like my last 2 years there. You know, I received really good accolades throughout my last 2 years there. Well, 3 years there, whatever. And I left my mark there and then come draft, you know, so I'm preparing. I'm a realistic person. Like I understand my situations, but I enroll myself and I know my abilities and I know what
Yeah,
I can do. I performed at high levels against the best. But you know, the NFL business is a business.
it's a
So
business.
I had already been told, you know what I'm saying, how things were going to go day 3 to undrafted. So I was like, okay, that's fine. Like it is what it is. I just want the opportunity to get to where I need to get to.
Hmm.
So once that draft day came, I'm just itching for the call. And then my agent called and they were just like, yeah, so then everybody's in the last round, but Houston already made the offer. They want you to come. So I was like, okay, cool. We're going to Houston then. Like, let's do it.
Yeah.
And I got to Houston and I was, so I was blessed to come in with, like I said, a great group of guys. So
There
I
you go.
really built some real good, solid friendships here. And so I just learned at this level, when you get to the professional level, it's really just about learning from each other at this point. It's like
Yeah.
we were all the best of the best at our schools growing up, whatever it was. At the end of the day, whether you were drafted or undrafted, you're in the building and you're there for a reason. So it's just like having a mindset to get better and learn and grow as a player, as a man.
Yeah.
I got there my rookie year, and everything went well. Like I said, I didn't play at the beginning of the year, but I started playing in like November and I finished the year out. So
Yeah,
that was
you were
like
on the
that was,
practice squad, right? You
yeah,
were on the practice
yeah,
squad, and then
correct,
a
yeah,
situation happened, and you got basically very similar situation as
yeah,
Memphis, right? You were
right,
waiting in the wings, preparing, and then had an
exactly.
opportunity.
Yeah, so yeah, definitely. So started practice squad beginning of the year, and then I was like, yeah, November. Like it just kind of like just happened, like boom, and then that was just like all the way to the end of the season, like I played, and and it was very fun. Just to learn, just really like to be out there,
Yeah,
because it's a different feeling from going from like preseason in August, and then every day you just going to practice, and
yeah,
then you play again to November. It's like it just started happening again. Once I started playing again, you could just see the energy in me change because it's like
yeah, yeah.
I'm preparing for a game on Sunday, not just so not just practicing every day. And saying nothing was wrong with the practice squad because at the time I needed it.
Sure,
I need to develop more, get my body stronger, and it was just more things for me to develop on. But I did go in with the mindset to get better. Like I gave the looks that would need to be given. I worked every day. I did, so I did my job, and at the end of
yeah,
the day, it was still fun. And I was still get to be around the guys, still get to learn, and I was still in the building. That was the biggest thing.
that's right.
And
Still in
so,
the game, baby.
right, so when my time did come, and I started to progress each week and just get better. That's all, so that's all I took it for. And this
Yeah,
previous season, 2023, everything was fine, and then just led up to the same situation was there, and then I just got released like mid-season, which was like a business decision. But yeah, that
yeah.
was just like my whole duration with the Texans.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
So I'm glad you kind of just ended it like that because that's what I want to spend a lot of time talking because that's when we met. We actually
all
met
right.
when you were on the practice squad. We're coming up to 53-man roster cut time, and you were
Yeah,
doing your thing. And we were meeting outside of your practice times, and all of a sudden you got released and that was an interesting time. I'm just so thankful to be a part of your life during that season. Talk about just in general for a second about feelings.
for
We're
sure.
two dudes. We as dudes a lot of times don't really talk to other people in general, but certainly not other guys about how we feel, what's going on inside, our thoughts, our emotions, and we just kind of bottle those up and we just strap it on and go on next play, right?
For
Um,
sure.
what were your thoughts about sharing your feelings or if you even should, or it was that week or what were kind of some of your thoughts before that?
Honestly, I just didn't know how to. Just growing up, I was just always, I wouldn't say taught, but it was just normal for me to not really express them as
That was
much.
what was modeled probably
Yeah,
for you and
yeah,
for a lot of us guys, right? We
for
just
sure.
our
Yeah,
dads. Yeah, yeah.
yeah. So, and it's not like to discredit my mom or my dad, but
No,
that's just
no, no.
that's how I was raised. My dad and I we talked about it. My mom and I talked about it, but naturally that's who I was as a person. Though I was
Yeah.
always my parents they talk about it like yeah, Kobe's always the one that was kind of closed off and to itself with things
Right.
more,
Quiet by
more yeah
nature.
by nature yeah more than my brother, and that was just my personality. So like coming off and telling you how I felt about something, like that was like an emotional feeling. You wouldn't really
Hmm.
get too much of that. Now, if there was an issue, I could
Right.
easily verbally express that to you. But just talking about feelings or how I felt about anything or just mentally what was going on, I never really knew how to express that because so much with especially in sports as an athlete, so much was just taught to just you have to focus on where you're at, be present. So majority of in 12 months, especially in college, 12 out of 12 months when it's in a year, maybe 2 months, I'm really not doing football in
Hmm.
college.
Yeah.
So like any other time, I was training, playing ball, so like I didn't have time to sit there and really process a lot of things that I
Yes.
should have been processing. And a lot of people don't realize
Mm.
that, especially as an athlete, I'm not going to just say football player, just as an athlete in general,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
just especially in college when sometimes you're maybe the first to do things like that in your family, or just in general, you're an athlete and you're just trying to figure out how to navigate yourself being a college athlete at a high level, and you're trying to navigate having a social life and navigate on the process. And okay, I am growing up. I'm not 16, 17, 18 years old. I went in at 17 years. Now I'm leaving here. I'm 22, 23 years old. It's a
Yeah.
different aspect. So like over those 4 or 5 years, however long you're in college, like you're growing into somebody different. And sometimes I don't think people realize that you change and you see things and you hear,
Yeah.
your environment changes. So you experience new things emotionally and physically. So you never, so you never really know how to sit there and talk about it. And even to, like I said, when you and I started talking, I told you one time, I said, I've never talked like this to anybody.
I remember.
I
I
never really
remember.
just, I don't really just say, okay, this is how I felt about things, or I never personally just sit there and process so much that I was doing in my own personal life.
Yeah, yeah. That was one thing about you that I mentioned earlier, just about the openness and the honesty. It's almost like started to become okay with being open and honest with yourself. And I happened to
Definitely,
be
yeah,
there.
yeah,
You
yeah,
know, there wasn't any magic, that I did. The only magic that, and it's not magic, is that I care.
sure,
I
definitely,
care, and I try to build trust with you, so you're doing the heavy lifting. I
for
get the
sure.
I get the honor of walking along with you with that. So talk a little bit about how, when we started talking and process, what were some of the things, if you could, because I think it would be really helpful for you to give some examples of some of the things that we talked about. Obviously, we don't have to go into the nitty gritty about a lot of that, but some of the topics, because I know there's going to be guys and girls that
Hmm.
are playing at this high level that are dealing with these same things, but they're keeping them bottled inside, and it's affecting them, their
For
personal
sure.
life and possibly their athletic life too. So
I think the biggest one that stuck with me, we talk about, is my anxiety all the time. I was always just anxious, and I think that started back in college, just wanting to be perfect, you know.
yeah,
We talk about it so many times. I wanted to be perfect, regardless. I never wanted to make mistakes. I always wanted to just do what I need to do, and I always felt like I had to do things in order to get to where I wanted to get to. And there was so many times in my life where people told me, you're not going to be perfect. Just do what you do, and you'll get to where you want to get to. But as you and I have talked, I told you that mentally that was always my
it's
biggest
hard to
thing. It's
believe,
hard.
right?
Yeah,
It's
it's
hard
hard
to
to.
believe. You got to work on believing it.
Definitely. And I think just mine, but like I said, just the anxiety or just the anxiousness, and then just the patience. I think those are my two things that stuck with
Patience.
me. Just patience and the anxious feelings that I will always get with anything in my life. I never really understood patience until the time that we had together from
Yeah.
September until this exact moment. I think this journey that I've been on these past 5.5, almost 6 months, has made me grow up, and it taught
Yeah.
me things that I didn't know about myself, and
Hmm.
it taught me things that I was asking you to help me with: patience,
Yeah.
the anxious feelings, the famous quote that everybody hears nowadays. That I really went through every emotion of everything that I've been going through right now. I honestly did go through every emotion. It was days where I was really just sad. It was days I was really happy. It was days where I was just mad. It was days I was anxious. I went through every single emotion, trying to understand like this professional football life right now, and just understand them, and
Yeah.
then getting on just the life with God.
Yes.
That's where, like I said, that's where you came into a big part of my life, with just talking to me.
Mm.
We talked about football, but it was more outside of football. It was about me and Kobe, like who I need to become to achieving
Yes.
to achieve what I want to achieve.
Yes, the whole God-given potential without a God-aligned life, and how to
For
get
sure.
what a God-aligned life even means. And to really unpack that. I know another important thing, and I know a lot of guys go through this. Your grandfather passed away.
For sure. Yeah,
Right during that period of time too. And when you talk about processing things, your
for sure.
grandfather meant the world to you. I know, and just to be able to process the grief and just the normal emotions that you have when someone passes away like that. That was another thing I know that you needed to talk through.
Yeah, definitely. Just talking about that, like I told you, I didn't properly grieve that. I told you when it happened, I felt the emotion of losing someone very close to me, and then after that, I kind of went right back into football,
Yeah.
and I didn't properly grieve that. And some people, like some of my friends, and they kind of saw that. My teammates, they kind of saw that. Like the ones who were really close to me and knew what was going on, they saw that. They knew I don't really talk about things too much. I
Yeah.
kind of just push past and like, yo, like what's going
Yeah.
on?
We're
Like,
good. We're good. We're
yeah,
good.
we're good. So, so like
Yeah.
just and that was so that was our joke between you and I. Like every time we got on the phone, I always say I'm good, everything's good. Like,
Yeah.
but and you
I
would
don't
make me,
accept good.
yeah, you would make me go more into detail about what's really going on. Maybe about 5, 10 minutes later, then I'm really breaking down what's going on. But so just to go back to what we were talking about, didn't properly grieve. And then
Yeah.
it was a point. I want to say like around like maybe September, like late September, early October, or whatever. It was a point I did break down, and then everything just hit me at one time, and
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I was just like, yeah, I that's when I realized I didn't properly grieve what really happened because I was just
Right.
so caught up in, like I said, everything around me. When you're an athlete, we have this on and off switch. Okay, we have a switch when we have to go
Hmm.
into our athletic building, and when we leave there, sometimes it's like okay.
We
Then we go
forget to
back.
turn the lights off.
Yeah, we forget. And I never knew how to turn off my athletic like mind sometimes. I would go home and I would think about like what happened at practice, what happened in the game, or the conversation I had with the coach or whatever it was that would just be on
Yeah.
my mind
Fully
all day.
consumed. Yeah. You were just
Yeah,
totally
definitely.
consumed. Yeah.
Definitely. And sometimes I used to catch myself, I used to be like, ah, that's all I would think about. And like now I'm glad that I can really like separate it so I can really leave from where I need to leave from and goes to to do football. Once I leave football, okay, I'm back to just being Kobe and living
Yeah.
life and enjoying spending time with Lena. It's just like at the
Yeah.
end of the day, that's just like my favorite time that I'm starting to adapt to, and I understood that you have to have that separation, or if not,
Yeah.
you will eventually break down and mentally you will just not be okay.
Yeah, I hope so many guys are driving down the road. Maybe they're at the gym listening to this. Pay attention to what Kobe just said, right?
For
Because
sure,
a lot of you are caught in the athletic lights beaming, and you forgetting to turn the light off when you get home.
for
And
sure.
yeah, you've done a tremendous job about that. So let's talk about how faith has played a role in that. And so just talk about a little bit of your faith background, but how much you've grown, what's helped you grow. What are some things you really feel like God's speaking to you, or He's taught you, maybe
For
in
sure.
your relationship with Him?
So I grew up in church, and as you and I we talked about, over time as I got older, I just questioned a lot of things, and I just saw a lot of things that didn't make sense to me. So over time, I wouldn't say that I just didn't believe in God anymore. I definitely need to still believe in God and everything on a spiritual level.
Yeah,
But the churches that I was going to, none of it made sense to me.
hmm,
Just the people, the environments, the people that I would see things or hear things from, it kind of directed me to a different path of just understanding, like, okay, let me have my relationship with God. And for many years, my mom would tell me, like, you have to get a relationship with God and you need to go to church. But I was kind of just so stuck in my ways of being like, yeah,
yeah,
church people were just,
ain't
no,
for
no,
me.
no. Yeah. So I was just so stuck like that. And I was just
Yeah,
like, yeah, I have my own relationship with God. But then over time, I just started feeling like it was so much weight on my shoulders. I never understood why. And I would have
hmm.
so many friends around me, and they just seem like they're just enjoying life, and it's just nothing ever bothers them. And I'm just looking at them, I'm like, bro, how are you not stressed? How is nothing bothering you right now? So,
Yeah.
and a couple of them will always just say, man, I know God is working for me. I know, and I would just be like, okay, I got you. You kind of just
Yeah.
brush it off
Oh,
because you don't,
okay.
yeah, you don't really
You don't
understand
know what
that
they're
feeling.
talking about. You
Yeah,
have not
yeah,
experienced what they're talking
yeah,
about.
exactly. I didn't understand it. I want to just hear it. But
Yeah.
it really took for me to start going to situations, like I said, with dealing with football and just my own personal like mental anxiety. Just like I said, just feeling like this is always a dark cloud over me. I always just felt like
Hmm.
something was heavy on me. I would never understood why. I never understood it. It never made sense to me. So
Yeah.
at the end of the day, once you and I started connecting and I talked to you about everything, and you just start having me read our Bible plans, our
Hmm.
readings that every week, and just going through that, and then even just doing a season builder, understanding like
Yeah.
I have to set principles, I have to set things around myself or what I want to see in myself, and okay, God already has his line for me. He just wants me to meet him halfway.
Hmm.
And once I started saying that, and like I said, just reading our weekly Bible plans and just really getting more into the Word, understanding it, because it's different from someone reading the word to you reading yourself and being able to break it down.
Yes. Yes.
So once I got to understanding how to read the Bible and understanding how to break down things for myself, that's when I understood, okay, this is the reason why I'm feeling this way. This is what can come out of it. And once I start reading stories in the Bible, and a lot of stories that I was reading were relating to my situations, it started to make a lot more sense to me. And where I'm at now, I can say I'm 10, 20 times mentally in a better space than I was 5, 6 months ago. You know that as well. But it's
Yeah.
just like
Yeah.
everybody will see me and they think, oh, Kobe's in his best headspace. He's playing professional ball. But nobody knew the conversation you and I were having.
Yeah. They
Nobody
didn't
knew
know.
that.
They
Like,
saw a change, but they weren't sure how that change was happening.
for
Is
sure.
that an
And
accurate statement?
that's definitely true. 'Cause like I said, even my mom, like she never understood like why I was feeling certain type of ways, or like I was starting to get distant from so many people, and I just feel like
Yeah.
I was not aligned with God. I really was not. Like you and I like talk about it. I keep referring because we talked about so much and you know so much. I was not on the path that I should have been on in regards
Yeah.
to I was not being myself anymore. I wasn't. I felt
Mm.
like I felt like I was heavy. Everything was heavy on me. And I was mentally just
Yeah.
not in a good space. And like I said, go back to just my granddad. I didn't grieve that correctly, and then you just take on
Right.
so much other stuff. So once I start aligning things the correct way and get into the word and just understand like that there is a reason why things are happening, that
Yeah.
God is gonna put me through these tests for a reason. I'm praying for things. He has to put me through the test to see if I really want them or I have to learn
Mm.
less. That's basically
Yeah.
where I've gotten now, and I'm continuing to still read. I write in journals. You know, so
Yeah, you're
actually,
journaling. Yeah, yeah, love
I
that.
can
Hey, how
I can
powerful? Hey,
actually.
let's just pause right there and just talk. I didn't mean to interrupt you, but like
No, you're
that,
fine. You're
how
fine.
how impactful has journaling been? Because there's a lot of people that hear about it, go, I know, but like you have
Definitely.
really dove into doing that, and I think it's really helped you.
Definitely, journaling was like it was kind of hard for me at first. 'Cause I didn't
Yeah, it's
understand
all
it.
hard for
Yeah,
us all. Yeah,
just everybody says go, saying get a journal, write your feelings out. And I'm like, well, first of all, I have to understand what I'm feeling. A lot
yeah,
of times I didn't know, I didn't really know what I was feeling. I just knew that things just never felt right. So over time, I just started okay, I would just take it day by day, and I would be like, okay, some days I'll be consistent with like 2 days, and I'll just type out my feelings. I'll write down how I feel, or writing out my goals for myself. That's kind of what my journaling started out as.
yeah.
And then over the past couple of weeks, months, when I really dove into it and got deeper with it, I understood that, okay, when I'm journaling, this is really just how I'm feeling. And I may grab my
Hmm.
journal at 2 o'clock p.m. and then write whatever I'm feeling in that moment and put it down and pick it back up until 8, 9 o'clock at night. And I
Yeah,
could just talk about my whole day, talk about some whatever blessing happened in the day or how I felt mentally or physically, just whatever it is. And that's when I started just taking it. And then once I started looking back and just reading my journal, I started realizing like, okay, at this point on February 26th, this is how I felt.
yeah.
But the month later on March 26th, I don't feel that anymore, and I feel way better. And this is what's really
Hmm.
going on. So just taking that and breaking that down, and understand like you're gonna go through different moments in your life,
Yeah.
and it's really just documenting like how you felt in certain times.
Yes.
That's what I gathered from it. I'm basically
Yes.
documenting okay, this is how you felt, and this is how you grown. This is what you got out of it.
Yes, because it's so good. Because you may remember me saying this during season, but whenever we're trying to change, I'm like, our intentions are great, but our
Right,
memory is terrible. So that's another great reason to journal is because you actually get those down, and then you can reflect back. Because you may have forgotten like 2 weeks ago you felt great, and now you're feeling terrible today. Like, well, I've been feeling terrible for a month. No, you haven't.
right,
No, you haven't. But if you didn't write it down, you believe that you have, and it really gives you evidence. That's
correct.
what I love about it. And there, we talk about this all the time. That man, there is power in the pen because one of your challenges too, and you mentioned it just a minute ago when you're talking about the anxiousness was the overthinking. Right? We
Definitely
get these thoughts and they just go ping, 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 and they never get out of there. And then a few more get added to the mix and it's chaos. But when you can start writing that journal, it gets them from here down to here. They get them out of there. So you're not just
definitely
dwelling on them and just ruminating on all the different 5 million thoughts you got in your head.
correct. Definitely. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I was a big overthinker.
Yeah. Hey, we're all a
Definitely.
work in progress on that one. Man, golly, this has been so good. Hey, I mentioned about you being multifaceted. Obviously, you love playing football, but what other stuff outside of football? What do you like to do? Like, what's interesting to you?
Yeah, definitely the wine and the pottery. I started enjoying just trying different wines and wanted to try different vineyards and things like that.
Yeah.
But outside of those two, fashion. I'm big on
Fashion.
fashion.
Yes, you
Big
love
on fashion.
fashion.
Big on fashion and art. I love modern art. But I think my love for fashion just came from just growing up and just seeing different styles and different eras of family members and just friends, just the outside world itself.
Mm-hmm.
I've always paid attention to just how people dress, male or
Yeah.
female. I always enjoy seeing good pieces on anybody,
Yeah.
and it made me want to do more research to understand. Like, I always want to dive deeper into like why did a person create this piece, or what was their reasoning
Mm.
behind that they made this certain type of clothing? Saying what was their demographic they want to make it for? And fashion is just, it's like a revolving door. It's here one year, going for a couple years, and it comes right back as we're seeing now. Like,
Yeah, coming back.
in yeah, 2024. Everybody's dressing like they did in the 90s and early 2000s. So it's just like 20 something years later, 30 something years later, you just never know what you're going to see or what what you can find. And I think that's the fun part that I like about it. And I think fashion is just your identity. Everybody's
Mm.
different. You can try to dress like someone else, but you have to wear what you like and what fits you. I think that just
That's right.
applies to just daily life. You can try to be somebody else or just try to model their life, but that's their life. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that so many times we all go through that. Once you realize that you can't be someone else or try to model someone else's life and you
Yeah.
fail at it, I think that's what kind of pulls you back and we're like, okay, that's for them, this is for me. And that's what I've done that with fashion so many times. I tried it and I was like, yeah, that's not for me. I'm gonna
Yeah.
stick with this. So
There you go. There you go.
definitely.
Yeah, such an analogy for life, right? It's hard enough being yourself. Why you want to try to be somebody else, right?
Exactly.
But one of the things that I know people, not guys or girls, high school, college, pro, doesn't matter. And it goes about what you were talking about, but trying to be somebody else, is where doing things that are out of your character that you don't really want to do, but you feel like you have to do to fit in or be accepted or whatever else. Like, I know that was something that you navigated. We'll just put it that way. And kind of what comments would you have about trying to fit in and do things that be places you don't want to be?
I don't want to sound like I'm just being a cliche, like, oh, I learned my lesson. No, like, you learn your lesson, but you're never going to know where you don't belong unless you're in that space at the end of the
Great
day.
point. Great point.
I can't sit here and say that a person can't go to location A, so the next person say, I'm never going to go to location A because that's not for me. You never know. And you may be able to find the good in wherever you're going. And it may not be a bad place to be, but I know I dealt with my own space that I was in and I knew myself. And it was never that I was trying to actually just fit in. I think it was just like the crowds and environments that I was just around. It's a part of it. No matter who you are, high school, college, adulthood, it doesn't matter. Like, you're going to be in environments and places that you never feel comfortable. And I think you have to, one, be in tune with yourself and
Mm-hmm.
who you are as a person to realize, like, okay, I don't really care to be here anymore
Mm-hmm.
or ever go back to that space again. And I
Yeah.
think, too, it's just about just learning how to move after that. Because once I kind of put myself in that headspace and was like, okay, I didn't like this place that I was in mentally and physically where I was at. I was like,
Right.
I don't need to go back there anymore. And I never went back again. I think my biggest advice is just take it slow. Just be in tune with yourself. Know what you like. People are going to respect you for being yourself. Um,
Yes.
if you don't feel comfortable being somewhere, just move around. You can still be friends with whoever you want to be friends with, but you have to still be your friend first. You have to be your best friend at the end of the day.
That's a
I think
great statement.
I think at the end of the day, sometimes people are not their own friend and can't be honest with themselves, and they look for the honesty or they look for things from other people, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where you kind of get lost.
Yeah, that approval and acceptance and
Definitely,
the recognition and the love. I mean, I don't
definitely,
know if it's
yeah,
love, but we think it is. We call
definitely,
it love, but it ain't.
for sure, definitely.
Yeah,
So yeah,
yeah.
I think that's my biggest takeaway from everything and advice to anybody. Just what I'm saying, just know who you are as a person and understand where you want to be in life. And athlete or non-athlete, at the end of the day, you have a goal that you want to achieve in life. You know what I'm saying? You can meet whoever you want to meet at any location to get you to where you want to.
Yeah, yeah, man, that's great. That is great. That is exactly what I was looking for you to give those guys below and girls below you that are coming up behind you. You know, what would you tell them what you learned, and that was so great. Well, I'm excited for this next season of your life in Minnesota. One last thing, maybe let's specifically talk pro athletes. What would you tell them about the value of not just me? There's a lot of great guys and girls out there in the world that my only agenda is you, right? And so it's not just me. There's a lot of people out there that want to be your friend, that care about you. But what would you recommend to other professional athletes or college athletes that play at the high level? Whether it's reach out to me or reach out to someone like me, how could they benefit from doing that?
Just first off, you have to have somebody to talk to. Everybody needs somebody to talk to. And talking to people in your same space as you is not always smart. Y'all are in the same space, so sometimes y'all are actually thinking the same things, and it's hard to help each other if y'all are both feeling the same way, or if the situation is not the same. I could go talk to teammates all day, and they could just be like, "Oh, everything's gonna be okay." So I would just right then and there, I would just shut down. Okay, cool, everything's gonna be fine, and I would push it down. But talking to someone who actually can sit there and listen and take note of what you're saying, and actually break it down for you to tell you why you're feeling, then that's the biggest thing for me. You have to have somebody to talk to, have somebody who can sit there and actually guide you sometimes and lead you to where you want to go. Because at that point, that's the person on the outside who's not in the same situation as you or in the same environment as you, and they're not going to feel or see how you feel. They're going to probably speak from a different perspective. And sometimes, you know what I'm saying, you're older than me, so you've been through life before me, and you understand, okay, this is things that when I was 24 years old, 25 years old, this is how I felt, this is what I went through. And you know what I'm saying, and 20 years later, then I'm here. I was here, and then 30 years later, I'm here. You know what I'm saying? It's a different agenda versus somebody who's in the same age group as you. Y'all both are trying to figure it out, so it's kind of different. So I think the biggest thing is just definitely find someone that you can trust, because it is hard sometimes, especially being a professional athlete. Well, sometimes we are kind of closed off because we don't want everyone in our business, or we have to put on like a persona, and we have this stigma around us that we're all like we're the strongest people. But 9 times out of 10, we're strong physically, but like mentally, emotionally, sometimes we're on that same playing field with every other human being out there, or sometimes we're a little bit lower than a normal person would think. Like a lot of times because we're just in a different headspace sometimes. I'm not saying like we're far off worse or put us on a higher pedestal.
No.
Yeah. But like sometimes, like I said, like for myself personally, we don't know how to sit there and separate certain things. And we never are, sometimes we can't properly turn the switch on for our emotion, turn it off, to sit there and really process how we're feeling. So being able to talk them out loud and really process about what's really going on in our life, it's a big thing for us.
Yeah.
And it's very helpful.
So you would give a thumbs up to someone reaching out and wanting me to help them with Season Builder.
I'm giving 2 thumbs up and my hands, man. We're giving 2 thumbs up, man.
Well, it's great. And man, Cobi, I just appreciate you as a man so much, and just your growth and just your openness, you're willing to share. I'm so excited about this next season of your life, what God's doing in your life, what your occupation of NFL football has got ahead of you, and just all the things that are ahead of you in your life. And I just so appreciate you coming on and sharing your story.
And I appreciate you. Since I told you every time since the start of September, every time we talk, I told you I appreciate you for everything that you helped me with, everything we talked about. Just just you seeing me outside of just being an athlete. So we always have our own jokes with anything, but since the first time we talked on the phone, you told me that you want to help me outside of ball. You want to help me just as a man, tell me grow. And once I told you just my story and how I feel about things, you took it head on, and every week you just made sure I was okay and made sure, okay, this is your task for the week. I want you to come out this week feeling like this and go into next week with a better feeling, 10 times better. And I definitely could say that has helped me tremendously, and I really appreciate you.
Awesome.
For sure.
Well, all right. Well, it's been a great Coach Ed show, and we will see you next week.